The wind cut across the prairie like a razor, thin and mean, and carrying with it the smell of dust and horse sweat. The sun was bleeding out along the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of copper and bruised purple. Jed Calhoun, a rancher hardened by 15 years of frontier life, rode slowly toward the lone cottonwood tree that stood like a sentinel over the empty plains. His horse, Bramble, snorted and tossed its head as if sensing what Jed already knew. Nothing good waited beneath that tree at sundown. Tied to the trunk, wrists bound with rawhide, was a man Jed had hoped never to see again. Eli Suter. Jed stopped 20 paces away. His pulse thudded once, twice. The memories he'd buried, the guilt he'd prayed would fade with time, came charging back like a stampede. Eli lifted his chin. His face was dirt-streaked, one eye swollen, his shirt torn open from what looked like a knife slash. But he still managed a thin grin, the kind that used to get them both into trouble back when they'd been boys running cattle and chasing dreams. "Took you long enough," Eli rasped. Jed dismounted slowly. "Didn't think I'd ever see you again." "Sure you did," Eli croaked. "Because you know what you owe me." Jed clenched his jaw. Oh, that word felt like a burning brand. Once, they'd been as close as brothers. Then Eli had joined up with the Raker gang, a pack of sadistic thieves who terrorized the frontier towns. They'd burned homesteads, shot men in the street, and carved their names into history with blood. Jed had watched it happen, watched Eli slide deeper into crime, and done nothing. He'd told himself it wasn't his place. Men made their own choices. But deep down, guilt gnawed at him. He had known Eli was sinking and had turned away. And now here Eli was, tied up and beaten, looking at Jed with hollow desperation. "Speak your piece," Jed muttered. Eli swallowed hard. "Jed, I beg you, just make it quick." The word struck with the force of a thrown iron. Jed froze. Eli's voice was low but steady, as if he'd practiced those words, as if he'd been waiting for someone, waiting for Jed to hear them. Jed took a slow breath. "Who did this to you?" Eli's eyes flicked toward the ridge to the east. "Rakers. They turned on me. Said I was a liability. Said I'd gotten soft." He laughed weakly. "Guess they were right." Jed stepped closer, scanning the bruises, the dry blood. "Why didn't they finish the job?" Eli coughed, spitting red into the dirt. "Because they wanted you to do it. Wanted to make you their message. You're the rancher they can't push off your land. You're the man who keeps saying no to giving them horses, cattle, supplies. They think you're stubborn. They want to break you." Jed's jaw tightened again. He'd had run-ins with the Rakers before. They tried to steal from him, tried to scare him, even threatened his wife, Abigail. But he'd never backed down. The land was all he had carved out of the wilderness, and he wasn't letting thieves take it. "So they left you here as bait?" he said. Eli nodded slowly. "They're watching. Probably got rifles pointed at you right now. If you try to untie me, they'll shoot us both. You know it." Jed glanced around the wide, open plains, searching the shadows along the ridgeline. No movement he could see, but that meant nothing. The Rakers were cunning bastards. They could be anywhere. "So what?" Jed said quietly. "You want me to kill you to save myself?" "That Ilias Vuste Ratlet." "No, I want you to kill me because I'm already dead, Jed. They cut me up inside. I'm not lasting an hour. And if they see you walk away without doing it, they'll come after your ranch. After Abigail." Jed's heart twisted. The mere thought of anything happening to Abigail made his vision sharpen into something dangerous. "You expect me to believe you care about my wife's safety after what you've done?" Jed growled. Eli's expression softened into something close to sorrow. "Jed, I know I'm a bastard. I know I can't take back the things I did. But Abigail was always kind to me. She's the only person who ever spoke to me like I wasn't rotten. I'd rather die now than let the Rakers use me to hurt her." The wind blew dust over both men. Bramble stamped his hooves. Jed turned away, pacing, fighting the storm raging inside him. Killing a man, especially one who had once been like family, was something he'd sworn he'd never do. But letting Eli suffer, letting the Rakers use him to destroy more lives, that choice gnawed cruelly. He drew a long breath. "I can't just put a bullet in you. I'm not a butcher. Eli's voice broke. Jed, please. I'm begging you. The pain. He winced, gripping his stomach. I don't want to die slow. Jed closed his eyes. He remembered them at 16, racing horses across the flats. He remembered sharing campfires, laughing until their ribs hurt, dreaming up futures neither had lived into. He remembered the first time Eli stole. Jed had tried to talk him out of it. Eli had laughed him off. That was when their paths began to split. Jed opened his eyes, hard steel replacing the memories. If I do this, he said, raising his revolver, I'm doing it because you asked. Not because of the Rakers. Not because I owe them anything. Eli managed a weak nod. I know. Jed stepped close enough to see the tremors in Eli's chest, the sweat beading on his brow. Eli lifted his chin just enough. Do it before I lose my nerve, he whispered. Jed steadied his hand. But then, a faint metallic click echoed from the distance. Jed's eyes snapped toward the ridge. A rifle. And then he heard it. The low murmur of voices carried on the wind. Rakers. Eli's eyes widened. Jed, quick! Jed didn't fire. Not yet. His instinct screamed that something more was wrong. Too easy. Too staged. Why would the Rakers let Eli have a clean death? Why make Jed kill him? Unless Eli wasn't just bait. Unless he was the trap. Jed's mind raced. He looked at Eli's wounds again. Shallow slashes, bruises, staged cuts. Enough to look painful, not enough to kill. Jed's stomach turned. You lying to me? He asked softly. Elias dus the heat shit. What? No. Jed pressed the barrel against Eli's chest. Not aiming to kill, but to test something. Eli didn't flinch. Didn't wince like a man with broken ribs should. Jed felt cold. Those bastards aren't watching to see if I'll kill you, Jed said slowly. They're waiting to see if I'll untie you. Eli went rigid. Jed stepped back, revolver still raised. You're working with them. Eli's eyes darted wildly. No, I had to make them think I was. They'd kill me otherwise. Jed, listen. But the voices on the ridge grew clearer now, closing in. Elias, they cook in it. They said if you set me free, we'd jump you. Take you alive. They want leverage, Jed. They want your land, your herd. But I wasn't going to let them. I swear. That's why I told you to kill me. I knew I couldn't go through with their plan. Jed's hand tightened. Why should I believe a damn word you say? Because, Eli whispered, eyes glistening, you're the only friend I ever had, and the only one I ever betrayed. I can't live with that anymore. Shadows moved along the ridge. 3, maybe 4 horsemen. Jed's choices collapsed into 2. Kill Eli and escape, or free him and risk ambush. Eli met his eyes. Jed, you know what's right. Jed stared at him for a long, unbroken moment. Then he shot. Not Eli. The rope. The bullet snapped the rawhide clean in a single crack. Eli fell forward with a gasp, stunned. Get up, Jed barked. If you're telling the truth, you'll help me fight them. For a heartbeat, Eli didn't move. Then he nodded, scrambling to his feet, wincing, but this time, the pain looked real. Jed tossed him a spare revolver from his saddlebag. Last chance, Eli. You betray me again. I won't hesitate next time. Eli Svalovith. I won't. A rifle cracked. Dust exploded near Jed's boots. Ride, he shouted. They mounted and tore across the plains as bullets whistled around them, the Rakers giving chase. The night swallowed them, hooves pounding, guns roaring, 2 former brothers racing side by side through smoke and dust and blood. And Jed realized something. Mercy was never quick, never clean. But sometimes it was the only thing that kept a man human.